Hi everyone. Today I want to share the 8 brutal truths about cybersecurity I wish someone had told me earlier. You see, when I first got into cybersecurity, I thought it would be hackers in hoodies, fancy exploits, and the thrill of the chase as they show in the movies. Boy, was I wrong. Reality check, there's a lot going on in cybersecurity, both boring and fun, and your first role will not have everything that you plan for it to have. I'm Sharma, security researcher, technology journalist, and a former software developer. At this point, I've got over a decade of experience in cybersecurity and software development, and I've contributed more than 700 articles to blogs, technology websites, including Bleeping Computer, TechCrunch, Wired, Ars Technica, CSO Online, and I've appeared on the BBC and Channel 5 documentaries several times. So I think I know what I'm talking about, and I've got some tips to share with you. If you're just starting out in cybersecurity, or even if you're mid-career, this will save you years of pain. Truth number 1. Cybersecurity is huge and you cannot master it all. And that's okay. You see, there are dozens of fields in cybersec. There's red teaming, blue teams, SOC or Security Operations Center, it closely blends with incident response, governance, compliance, malware research, vulnerability research, cloud, and now we've got AI SOC, of course, with AI everywhere. So early on, obviously I wanted to do everything in my career, but a smarter advice would be to pick a lane, specialize, but have an overview mindset. That way you can jump into different things when the time is ready. Truth number 2, upskilling never ends. I think this goes for any profession, but most of our technology professions where every year we've got new software coming out, new frameworks coming out. In the field of cybersecurity too, that is the case. Now with AI in the mix, it's up the complexity of this equation. For example, we've now got agentic SOC. So before you had SOC professionals, people monitoring client environments for suspicious activities, malware, phishing emails, data leakage, jumping on an incident when it occurs. Now AI agents are able to do much of those same tasks automatically, very fast, and you just need a human to review this. So it's important to upskill yourself, learn new tools, learn AI, learn where you can contribute with this upcoming technology. So pro tip, build a routine for continuous learning. Truth number 3, the job market isn't always what recruiters say. For example, even entry-level jobs in cybersecurity may require 3 years of experience or 5 different certifications. So breaking into cybersecurity may be harder than what all those LinkedIn posts make it sound like. That being said, networking portfolios and practical demos trump a resume line and put you at front. If you're just relying on clicking apply on jobs, you may not get far given the competition around. I also have a counterpoint here. Certifications are not your golden ticket to cybersecurity. Sure, some jobs absolutely required. It may be used for HR screenings, for recruitment calls, that they're not willing to move forward with the candidate unless you possess an OSCP certificate. But even if you're someone with 5 cybersecurity certifications, but you lack critical thinking skills and you don't have hands-on experience, you will not last long in your job. Whereas someone who set a security lab, hands-on, they have analyzed malware in their lab, they've got bug bounty experience, they have made open source software contributions to public repositories, they have an understanding of these concepts, they are preferred any day over someone with just certifications. Truth number 4, Hanlon's razor. This is a tricky territory that challenges both entry-level professionals and even experienced leaders. And this is very similar to going through an airport security. I'm sure sometime during your life you must have been pulled aside at the airport security or have had your bag searched shortly after it was x-rayed. 95 or 99% of the times they didn't find anything malicious or suspicious. It's just something looked funny on the x-ray, but in real life it was just a simple object or nothing. Cybersecurity can be similar. Many times what may look suspicious on the surface may be someone's stupidity. That is what the Hanlon's razor says. Never attribute to malice what can be adequately explained by stupidity. For example, when you're analyzing something, or you're a threat hunter, or you are a SOC analyst, doesn't matter, this applies across disciplines. You may get a data leakage alert. This employee messaged 5 different attachments to someone outside of the company. At a first glance, this looks like the employees exfiltrating company data. When you get to the email, it's just they were sharing their holiday pictures with somebody else, or they were sharing company's marketing materials which are already public with a client which has a non-traditional email address or a Gmail address. A more experienced professional will not lose it under stress. They'll approach this with a calmer demeanor. They'll try to get the full context. I have another example for you, and this is something I've seen my colleagues struggle with sometimes. When analyzing a piece of software application, sometimes we may see obfuscated or minified code in it. By using obfuscation, I mean the person who published that piece of code will deliberately add scrambling to it to make the code unclear or unintelligible. Now, hackers use this tactic to hide their malware or malicious code, but obfuscation also has genuine business use cases. cases. I've seen some software developers use it to hide secret API keys in their application. Not the best way to do it, not best practice, but it is a compromise legitimate people have made before. So obviously think outside the box. At a first glance, this piece of software code looks suspicious, but has it been published on a legitimate company's website? Is there any indication their website was breached? If not, and this piece of code has been sitting on their website for the last 7 years, it's unlikely no one noticed and something malicious was going on. So you need to take the full context into picture and just know you will struggle a lot with Hanlon's razor. Truth number 5, burnout is real. The constant alerts, high stress, long hours, on-call rotations, it can all leave you feeling jaded month after month without you noticing it. So I want you to be aware of this. There will be a personal moment in your and everyone's career when they'll hit burnout. And it's important to be aware of that moment and know how to prioritize, when to say no. You don't have to say yes to everything. It's okay, some things are more important than others. So set your boundaries early on, try to be adaptable, flexible, but also know when to say no and take a step back. Truth number 6, soft skills matter more than you think. You can be a prolific researcher, malware analyst, but if you are not able to translate these complex findings into something simpler with your immediate manager, forget even the C-level executive. If your immediate manager cannot understand those findings, then your research becomes challenging to present and push forward. I want to stress, soft skills are not a substitute for technical ones. I know some people say you can get away with it. No, you need to know what you're talking about. Technical skills are indispensable. Because if you don't have technical skills, the company will hire someone else to do it. But also if you just have technical skills and you're not so good at communicating your findings, messaging them appropriately, that is another challenge the company faces. It's fine to be better at one than the other, but just be aware, soft skills matter a lot in this profession. How you want to message your findings, how you want to communicate a data breach publicly to the press, to your customers, all that really adds up to something. And sometimes in the cybersecurity world, you'll learn that the best advice is not to engage at all. Sometimes not saying anything publicly, for example, is the best thing. Other times you have to come forward and clearly tell the community what's going on. Why is this attack dangerous? Or if a data breach occurred at your company, how does this happen? Provide them details they can work with and safeguard themselves. Truth number 7 is it's not all glamorous all the time. Just like any other job, it'll have grunt work, it'll have quiet periods. And honestly, most of the cybersecurity will not be you hacking into banks every day trying to prove like, look, these systems are vulnerable. It'll be patch management, compliance, education, generating awareness, or if you're unlucky, incident response at 3 a.m. Who wants that? All of these less glamorous tasks are still important. They play a pivotal role in safeguarding organizations. And I always say, like, quiet days in the land of cybersecurity, it's not such a bad thing. It can be a soft luxury if you look at all the cyber attacks which are accelerating left and right every day. Truth number 8, the ethical gray zone. I think this builds on my previous point about Hanlon's razor because hacking can be used for both good and bad. During your career, you'll definitely be faced with tough choices where you may be in a position to deem something as outright malicious or benign. But more realistically than not, it'll be somewhere in the middle. And you must move very carefully and strategically as to how you want to message this, label this, and communicate this to your immediate managers, to the public, if you're blogging, to the media, and so on. Because with areas like open source intel gathering, surveillance, bug bounties, and 0 days, the ethical lines start to blur fast. You could have found a vulnerability in a certain application. You cannot just disclose it. You have to follow responsible disclosure. That means you have to make a good attempt to get in touch with the system's owner or the organization that is vulnerable. Try to have them fix their vulnerability before you publicly blog about it. However, there's the flip side. If you found an organization's website actively distributing malware because they have been hacked and they have no knowledge of it, yes, you should definitely contact the organization, but it is your duty to also inform the public right away. Hey, this website has been hacked. Do not download their products right now because it's malware. This is a tough line. Companies get pissed sometimes, I'll be honest. But it takes a completely different approach to tackle a vulnerability versus malware, which is actively infecting systems in real time. Then there are more nuanced aspects. For example, a researcher, or let's call them a gray hat. And I've reported on these cases several times. By gray hat, I mean someone who's not completely an ethical researcher or hacker. They may be doing something which is borderline unethical, but it's not completely malicious either. So this person may be doing something, for example, they're running proof of concept exploits just to prove that a certain company is vulnerable. And it is very crucial how you approach this and make a decision. Because if you call someone malicious that this person tried this exploit against a certain company, they are a threat actor. It is possible they were authorized for this test in advance, or even if they did not have prior authorization, they were trying to do this POC exercise as a bug bounty test to win a bounty. Sometimes you have to look deeper into their code. What is exactly it's doing? If it's just trying to demonstrate that they're capable of hacking an organization, that could count as a proof of concept research. Now, if their research goes a step further and exfiltrates secrets from that organization without authorization, that is malicious, or that can be seen malicious and illegal. However, in the world of cybersecurity, this can be spun either way. As a reporter, I've seen countless examples. If I start getting into it, there are so many gray areas we have reported on that sometimes, like officially, someone is not supposed to do this. This is illegal. Yet they did that. And for doing this, companies awarded them with thousands of dollars in bug bounties as a thank you for saving their organization from a bigger real world attack. Other times, genuine researchers have gotten into trouble legally when they reported on a data leak. They didn't have anything to do with the leak. They just noticed that your GitHub repository or your website is leaking this data. Companies slapped them with a lawsuit that you found something, or the company in their perception thought this researcher had something to do with the leak. So you will have to learn to navigate these lines, and I think it's better to be safe than sorry, as I always say. I have learned this through several experiences, both in my reporting, in my vulnerability research, where to stop, where to draw the line. When is it appropriate to call a spade a spade? When is it appropriate to entertain alternate contexts that yes, maybe they were doing something which is not strictly ethical, but it's for the greater good, and it can be seen that way by the community. Look at the hacktivist groups, for example. They do so many controversial things. They may even be outright illegal, yet the community sentiment does not see it that way, because in their eyes, they may be doing something to achieve a novel goal. So again, I'm not getting into all that. It's a can of worms. So point being, decide your ethical boundaries early on, but just be aware throughout your career, you may be challenged and pushed to see through the other side more often than you'd like to. So these are the 8 brutal truths about cybersecurity that come to my mind. Again, I wish I had known this the day one. Since the age of 12, I've been coding. I was always into technology, self-taught self-developer largely. When I entered cybersecurity, I was always kind of seeking that thrill of the chase, that adrenaline rush, but it was through different experiences, roles, and just getting your hands, dirty, doing the real world work, which is when I learned that, okay, there's so many concepts involved. There's so many areas to get into. I would say it's an ever-changing field, but most of the times it's rewarding if you keep an open mind. Oh, and a pro tip, if you want to get into cybersecurity, just look at the field which you're already in and what's the nearest parallel. Some people, for example, lawyers, used to come to me for career advice. And they're like, I've never touched code. I'm not a technical person, but I know law, I'm passionate about cybersecurity. What should I do? I said, start with the GRC side of things. These are closer to the legal profession than technical roles would be. You can get your feet wet and see if cybersecurity is for you. If you think it is, if the field interests you, then you can slowly start taking technical training, branch out into other areas of the field. If you're a software developer, for example, a role where you get to use your software development skills, code reviews, along with the security side of things might prove fruitful to you than a job where you just have to configure firewalls and switches, which are more for IT professionals. So always find an area within cybersecurity which is closest to your existing profession and leverage your skill set there. So if I could go back in time, I would cut myself some slack, because I've been too hard on myself, and not focus on the hype. Just do what you're good at, and just know that even if your current role is not as fun, it's just the starting point. This is you learning about what you like and what you don't like, and you can always make a switch when you're ready. If you enjoyed this, I cover breaking hacks, cybersecurity, AI, supply chain attacks. So give me a follow and subscribe right away. Even if you don't, I'll know where to find you. I'm Sharma, and this is a Security Report.